Is the Jimmy Kimmel suspension censorship? Fuel me once here, driving instructor of the world. The simple answer is yes. Yes, it is. The more involved answer is not in the same way we have free speech granted in the First Amendment to the Constitution. See, TV shows, especially live ones, have always had censorship. There's a censor that sits just off stage every single show of a live broadcast. They operate throughout the recording or even with a live delay so that the audience at home has a slightly different experience than the audience at studio. They're constantly telling the show what they can't say. But this is more complicit. Late night talk shows are not the news. They don't have the same freedom of the press and freedom of speech afforded by the First Amendment. They're businesses. They're owned by other businesses who have their own interests. Both ABC and CBS, who owns the Stephen Colbert Show that was put on notice of cancellation, have distribution deals with a very conservative company called Sinclair Broadcast Group. They distribute for Fox, NBC, CBS, ABC, My Network TV, the CW, and the CW+. They're the ones that put immediate pressure on ABC to suspend Kimmel. And it is a suspension at this stage, because right now they're negotiating for an apology and some stricter content oversight. Also, ABC and CBS were each trying to court favor with the FCC because each has had sales or has them now involving FCC approval. The FCC wields power like this because they're the ones that control the licenses for who gets to be on the air. Now, CBS's parent company, Paramount, was bought by Larry Ellison's Skydance Media, finalized in July, after their dealings back in May with Colbert. And Disney, the owner of ABC, is involved with Nexstar. They're trying to buy Tegna, another very large media conglomerate, in a $6.2 billion deal which would allow them to own 80% of all ABC distribution. So the other complication is the ratings. Podcasts and more in-depth interview shows like Hot One and Last Meals from Mythical Kitchen are crumpling late night as sources for celebrity fixes. So late night talk shows are already scrambling for viewership. That sometimes pushes the writers to try to create viral moments. Sometimes those moments backfire. Still, this sets a horrible, horrible precedent. Ted Cruz called the FCC action mafioso in its suspension of Kimmel. It's way more than cancel culture, and people are mad because it didn't originate from them. Kidding. Okay, a little. The commissioner of the FCC, however, Ana Gomez, that's a different position from Chairman Carr. She criticized the FCC's involvement in this. The irony of this is that Charlie Kirk laughed at the South Park episode that lambasted him. He even made the Charlie Kirk animation character his profile pic. It's still there on some of his social media. He would have laughed at the Kimmel joke, inaccurate as it was, by the way. But Charlie Kirk said this, quote, "We as conservatives need to be able to take a joke. We shouldn't take ourselves so seriously. That's something the left has always done, to great detriment to themselves and the movement. Look, they're professional comedians. They're probably going to roast me. And I think that's fine. That's what this is all about. Being in public life and making a difference." He could take a joke. The rest of us need to be able to do the same. Looking at you, Sinclair, Nexstar, ABC, CBS, NBC, and all the rest. On the road of life, please drive kind and take a joke.